5 years ago, if someone told you that Korean cars would be outselling some of the biggest names in the car industry, you'd have laughed at them. But here's the thing. It's happening right now, and most people have no idea why. There's a secret reason Korean car companies are dominating the roads in 2025. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what they did that nobody else was willing to do. So let me paint you a picture. You walk into a parking lot right now, anywhere in the world, and you start counting cars. 10 years ago, you'd see Toyotas everywhere. Hondas, maybe some Fords and Chevys, depending on where you live. But today, Hyundai, Kia, Genesis, they're everywhere. And it's not just in one country. This is happening globally. It's from Europe to America, to Asia, to Africa. Korean cars are taking over, and the numbers don't lie. In 2024, Hyundai Motor Group became the third largest car manufacturer in the world. By early 2025, they're pushing even harder for that number 2 spot. Something massive shifted in the car industry, and Korean brands were ready for it while everyone else was sleeping. But here's where things get interesting. Korean cars didn't always have this reputation. In fact, for the longest time, they had the opposite problem. Back in the 1980s and 90s, when Hyundai first started selling cars in places like America, people treated them like jokes. They were cheap. They broke down. The build quality was terrible. There's a famous story about the Hyundai Excel, one of their first cars sold in the United States. It was so bad that it actually damaged the brand for over a decade. People would buy it because it was affordable, but then the transmission would fail after a year. The engine would have problems. Parts would fall off. It became a symbol of everything wrong with cheap cars. And Kia. Same story. People saw Korean cars as the budget option you bought when you couldn't afford a real car. Mechanics would joke about them. Car reviewers would ignore them. For a long time, Korean car companies were stuck at the bottom of the industry, looking up at Japanese and German brands that seemed untouchable. So what changed? How did these brands go from being the laughingstock of the car world to being the cars that everyone suddenly wants to buy in 2025? The answer is a combination of things. And the first one is the most obvious: quality. Korean car companies made a decision somewhere in the early 2000s that they were going to become obsessed with quality. Not just okay quality, world-class quality. They studied Toyota's manufacturing process. They hired designers from BMW and Audi. They invested billions of dollars into research and development. And slowly, year after year, the gap started closing. But here's what made the difference. In 2010, Hyundai introduced something that shocked the entire industry. A 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty? Nobody else was offering that. Think about what that means. They were so confident in their cars that they were willing to cover repairs for a full decade. Other companies were offering 3 or 5 years. Hyundai doubled down, and it worked. Suddenly, people started thinking differently about Korean cars. If the company is willing to guarantee their product for 10 years, maybe these cars aren't as bad as we thought. It was a genius move that completely changed public perception. The second thing that changed was design. For years, Korean cars looked boring. It looked like they were trying to copy Japanese cars, but doing it worse. But then, something happened. Hyundai and Kia started hiring world-famous designers. They brought in Peter Schreier, who used to design for Audi. They brought in Luke Donkerwoek, who designed some of the most beautiful Lamborghinis ever made. And suddenly, Korean cars started looking different. They started looking aggressive, bold, exciting. The Kia Stinger came out, and people couldn't believe a Kia could look that good. The Genesis brand launched, and people started comparing it to Mercedes and BMW. The designs were no longer copies. They were originals, and people noticed. You can't deny that modern Hyundais and Kias turn heads on the street. They have a visual identity that is uniquely their own, and it screams confidence. The third factor, and this one is huge, is something most people don't talk about enough: electric vehicles. While other car companies were slow to adapt, Korean car makers went all in on electric cars, and they did it early. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6 started winning Car of the Year awards everywhere. Kia EV6 won World Car of the Year. These weren't just good electric cars for the price. These were some of the best electric cars, period. It had better range, faster charging, and more innovative technology than most of what German companies were making. And they were more available than a lot of what American companies were offering. And here's the kicker. They cost less. That combination of great quality, great design, and a lower price, that's a formula that's almost impossible to beat, especially in the EV market. But there's another layer to this story that brings us right to 2025. People are buying cars differently than they did before. The economy has been tough. Inflation hit hard over the last few years. People are more careful with their money now. They're doing more research before making big purchases. They're looking for value. And when you research cars, when you look at the data and the reviews and the reliability ratings, Korean cars just keep coming up on top. Consumer Reports started rating Hyundai and Kia among the most reliable brands, sometimes even beating the Japanese brands that were famous for reliability. JD Power Quality surveys showed Korean cars consistently outperforming the industry average. The data tells a clear story. Korean cars give you more for your money than almost any other option on the market today. And finally, there's the technology factor. Walk inside a modern Hyundai or Kia, and you will have fine features that you'd have to pay thousands of dollars more for in a German or Japanese car. Bigger screens, better sound systems, more driver assistance features, heated and cooled seats, digital dashboards. All of this often comes standard or as part of an affordable package. Meanwhile, many European brands have a reputation for nickel-and-diming you for every little feature. Want heated seats in a base model BMW? It's extra. Want adaptive cruise control in a Mercedes? That's part of an expensive package. Korean brands figured out that people hate that, so they started including more features at lower prices. And buyers responded enthusiastically. So when you put it all together, it's not a mystery at all. The rise of Korean cars wasn't an accident. It was a strategy. They addressed their biggest weakness, which was quality, and turned it into their biggest strength with that incredible warranty. They invested in world-class design to make their cars desirable. They jumped on the EV trend before their competitors. And they packed their cars full of technology while keeping the price fair. They went from being the joke of the auto industry to setting the standard. It's a story of a long-term vision, relentless hard work, and a deep understanding of what customers actually want in 2025. It's one of the biggest comeback stories in business history, and it's happening on our roads every single day. Thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, do we want to forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the brands that are shaping our world? See you in the next one.